Recently, many scientists are inclined to believe that in ancient times there was a kind of steam water protective dome above the Earth. Our planet was a kind of greenhouse with favorable conditions for the emergence of life. Skeptics, of course, looked at this theory from the underbrowth, but in 1988 a book by Dr. Joseph Dillow called Water from Above was published in the USA, where he scientifically substantiates the existence of a 12-meter thick steam water shell above the Earth in the distant past. The existence of a steam water dome above the ground in ancient times is not such a fantasy. By the way, this also explains something that is simply impossible to explain in terms of generally accepted scenarios for the development of life on Earth. For example, scientists still cannot explain the warm and humid climate with an abundance of tropical vegetation in the Arctic and Antarctica, which according to archaeologists prevailed on this continent in the distant past. In addition, paleontologists are constantly silent, or even limited to vague comments on questions about huge flying lizards. In particular, the question of how, for example, a pterosaur with a wing area of 25 meters and weighing more than 200 kilograms could rise into the air, put them simply at a dead end. Well, I flew somehow and flew. What are you really worried about? Joseph Dillow put forward a scientifically based hypothesis that a steam dome could have existed above the Earth in the past. The fact is that the molecular weight of water is 18 grams, and air is 29 grams. Thus, lighter water vapors may well exist above the atmosphere. He also relies on numerous evidences indicating that the dome really existed. Thus, his breakthrough in quotations later sheds light on many questions that still remain unanswered. This applies to the extinction of dinosaurs and to their incredible, long life expectancy, tropical climate, and so on. Dillow made mathematical calculations, the results of which determined the amount of water vapor that could be stable above the atmosphere. He stated that this should be equivalent to a 12-meter layer of liquid water and cause an additional atmospheric pressure of about 1.18 atmospheres. There are also numerous proofs of the existence of such a dome in the past. This steam water shell was supposed to provide a greenhouse effect, reflecting back to the Earth the thermal infrared rays reflected by it. Thus, as a result of this greenhouse effect, a warm tropical climate should have prevailed throughout the planet, including in Antarctica, Alaska, and Siberia. This is confirmed by the sensational finds of archaeologists of the remains of animals such as camels, lions, crocodiles, and other heat-loving animals in permafrost areas. Another important condition for the influence of the steam dome was to be giant vegetation. And she really was. Archaeologists find giant fossilized leaves of ferns and other tropical plants in Antarctica. But modern geological processes are not able to provide conditions for the growth of such a huge vegetation. But modern scientists absolutely refuse to admit it. They explain the entire geological past of the Earth by modern processes, which according to Dillow, is a mistake to do. Show me at least one plant that has grown to the same size as the ancient ones found with modern processes. There are no such. So it was different in the past. Also, as we learned earlier, if water vapor is above the Earth's atmosphere, then it should have caused additional atmospheric pressure. Modern studies have shown that at today's pressure, such lizards as pteranodon and pterosaur simply could not rise into the air. But from the point of view of the steam water dome, the pressure generated by it and the denser air saturated with a large amount of oxygen, they could easily rise into the air, and for this they needed to develop 2 times less speed. Often along with minerals, ancient dragonflies are also found whose wingspan reached 70 centimeters. Such dimensions are easily explained again from the point of view of the existence of a steam water dome, because insects receive oxygen through the skin. The partial pressure of oxygen at that time should have been 350 mm He instead of the modern 160 mm He. Thus, higher oxygen pressure inevitably entailed an increase in the size of ancient insects. And there is indirect confirmation of this. Dinosaurs are reptiles, and as you know, reptiles, unlike mammals, grow throughout their lives. Therefore, most likely, dinosaurs grew to gigantic sizes over a longer life. Thus, the gigantic size of dinosaurs is fully explained by the theory of the steam water shell. Also, such a dome had to absorb a significant part of solar radiation, which adversely affects the human body. Thus, the life expectancy should have been higher, which is confirmed in various ancient sources. After the condensation of the steam water dome, a certain amount of water vapor should have remained in the upper layers of the atmosphere. And indeed, with the help of modern instruments at an altitude of 85 kilometers in the ionosphere, water ions were detected. Ionization of water molecules occurs under the action of hard cosmic radiation. It is noteworthy that today in the troposphere, at an altitude of about 10 kilometers, there is a so-called cold trap. There, at temperatures below -40 degrees Celsius, all the water vapor rising from the ground freezes, and it can no longer rise above this area. Thus, the fact that there are accumulations of water vapor significantly above this trap may confirm that it was once raised there in a completely different way, that is, it was there in the form of a steam water dome. Also, the dome is in good agreement with the large amount of water that hit the Earth in the form of a worldwide flood. But still, this was not the only factor in the flooding of the planet. A significant part of the water burst out from under the ground. I have already talked about this in detail in previous issues, so it makes no sense to repeat. Thus, the theory of steam water bathing, which existed above the ground in ancient times, is not so fantastic, and is fully explained from a scientific point of view. The question is different: do modern scientists need research in this area? This truly remains a big mystery.